A few weeks ago, I saw someone on our new doorbell camera walking up to my house, but I never saw them leave. Then, the next day, the footage was just gone. Disappeared. That's when the alarm bells started going off. So I did what anyone in my situation might. I started playing detective. I was already in the middle of setting up in-home cameras and a new video surveillance system, and I think my wife, Laura, realized I was on to her. She must have assumed I had seen something, maybe from the doorbell footage she deleted. Because out of the blue, she confessed. She told me she'd been having an affair. Ongoing. For about a year. Most of it happened while I was out of town, helping care for my aging father. I guess she thought that softened the blow, that I'd somehow take it better. She even said I deserved someone better. That she wanted a fair divorce. Sell the house, split the proceeds. She might even pay alimony for a while. We share a decent amount of debt, but the house sale should cover it, maybe even leave a little left to start over. Still, it felt like a punch to the gut. Disheartening. Unfair. Yeah, I was angry. I wanted revenge at first. But truthfully, there was no one to expose her to. Her circle's tiny. Only 2 people who'd probably even care. And the guy she was cheating with? He's single. Divorced. And somehow knew more about my marriage than I did. Their relationship didn't seem new. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't the first time she did something like this. I had the urge to out her, to blow it up. But I didn't. I let it go. It's not like I had the emotional bandwidth to wage a war anyway. I've been neck-deep in elder care responsibilities, and the truth is, I'm tired. Laura offered to try and fix things, but we both knew that bridge had already burned. Too much damage. Too much pain. And honestly, I'm still carrying around the weight of being cheated on 25 years ago. Some scars, they don't heal. Not completely. Lately, I've been wondering if my entire relationship with Laura was just a rebound from that first betrayal. But I'm the kind of guy who commits fully. When I'm in, I'm all in. Maybe I jumped in too fast back then. And now? I don't know if I'll ever trust anyone again. There won't be any big confrontation. No vindictive drama. No social media exposure. Just 2 people quietly unraveling what was supposed to be a life together. And me? I've got to figure out how to rebuild from scratch. No pride. No ego. Just a man in his 50s, picking up the pieces of another failed chapter. I don't even want to go home. But I have to. I have to pack, prep the house for sale, figure out where the hell I want to live next. I honestly don't even know. The only silver lining is that we never had kids. So once this divorce is finalized, I'll never have to speak to her again. But God, every time I hear her voice, the pain slams back into me. I do this thing, I call it pain shopping. I scroll through old photos of us. The good times. The smiles. The trips. I torture myself with what once was. I don't even know why I do it. I thought I was ready to move on, but maybe I'm not. I lie awake most nights, running through every misstep I ever made. Wondering what I did wrong. Wondering why I was never enough. Why I always end up on the losing side. I'm older now, tired, broken. And I just can't shake the feeling that this life, the one I've built, isn't the one I deserved. No hope. No dreams. Just me, stuck in my own head. Later last night, the silence hit me again. She hasn't called. Hasn't texted. And yeah, I told her not to. I meant it. She probably figured I was serious. But still, not even a sorry. Not a you okay? Is she just sitting at home, watching some show like it's just another Tuesday night? The Christmas before last, we had a heavy conversation. We talked about how our bedroom had basically gone cold. I admitted that, over a decade ago, after multiple failed IVF attempts and heartbreaking premature births, I developed this deep fear of getting too close. Of trying again and losing another child. It terrified me. I shut down physically and emotionally for a long time. We both spiraled into depression back then, got help. Barely pulled through. But now, after hearing her confess to a full-blown year-long affair? I snapped. I said something cruel. Something about how maybe she deserved to lose our kids, which, of course, we don't even have. It just came out. Now I'm thinking maybe I should apologize for that. It was mean. Unfair. And maybe, just maybe, my distance over the years played some part in all this. I only ever talked about those fears with my therapist. Maybe I should have told her. Maybe she thought the cold bedroom meant I didn't love her. That I didn't want her. Maybe it really is my fault. God. What have I done? I couldn't sit with it. Against my better judgment, I called her. I knew she wouldn't answer, and she didn't. So I left a voicemail. Told her I was sorry for what I said. That it wasn't true. That I'd meant to hurt her, and I was ashamed of it. I told her I knew it was over. That we should handle this like the adults we are now, not the reckless 20-somethings we used to be. I told her I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for. Later that night, Laura called me back. She said she appreciated the apology. Said she knew I was lashing out, trying to hurt her the way she hurt me. We didn't talk much beyond that. She apologized again, the usual blah blah blah. I told her I'd be coming home this weekend. And I told her I needed her to be gone when I got there. The call was mostly civil. Just two broken people, finally trying to do the right thing. I made it clear, I really don't care where Laura goes. I told her flat out she should just stay with her boyfriend, since that's obviously where she wanted to be. She denied it, swore up and down she didn't want him, that she still wanted me. Said we could work things out. That she just needed one chance. Promised she'd do anything to fix it. And I'll admit, there was a part of me that wished I could rewind the clock. Go back to any moment, any part of our life together, except this last year. Hell, I'd take our worst fights over this. But I stood firm. I told her I couldn't see us finding a way back. It's been a year. I can't even imagine loving her again. I asked her one question, how many times? She was quiet for a long time. Didn't want to say. Asked if I really wanted to know, said it would only hurt more. I told her I needed to know. That's when she broke me even more. Said at first, it was only a few times. But after the first month, it became almost every day, every time I was away. And some weekends, when she said she was going to the gym. That went on for about 6 months. In the last few months, it tapered off, just once or twice a week when I wasn't around. It made me physically sick. I muted the call and just let it out. She'd been with him more in that 1 year than she'd been with me in the last 10, maybe 15. Hundreds of times. Maybe even more than we were when we first started dating. I wanted to ask more. I wanted to know if he was better in bed. If he was bigger. What they did together. But I couldn't take it. I was already drowning in shame and hurt. I just told her to go stay with him this weekend, so I could have the house to myself. I needed to get some of my important things, even if I didn't have a permanent place to take them yet. I'd been up all night, sipping on a decent bottle of scotch. And now I had to go to work and care for my father, hungover and heartbroken. So here I am, back at the house. Thankfully, she's not around. I'm packing up what I forgot last weekend, some documents, clothes, and other essentials. It's going faster than I thought. I'm trying to keep moving, keep focused, before the emotions catch up to me. I'm down in the basement when I hear water running. It goes on for a while before I realize it's the shower. I head upstairs, confused. And sure enough, the shower's going. I'm stunned. So I make coffee and walk out to my car. Just sit in the driveway, numb. I think about driving off, but I stay put. I even start drafting a nasty text, but I don't send it. I figure I'll just wait her out. While I'm out there, my new neighbor walks up and introduces himself. I try to be friendly, keep it surface level. I don't say anything about what's going on. After he leaves, the garage door opens. There she is, Laura, standing behind her car. She asks if we can talk. I just stand there while she goes through the motions, introducing herself to the neighbor like we're still some normal couple. We go inside. I'm still in shock. I ask her what she's doing here. She says she can't check into the place she's staying at until later in the day. That she came from the gym and figured I wouldn't care if she showered and grabbed some more things. She didn't see my car at first, so she thought it'd be fine. I just stand there, looking at this person I used to know, this stranger in my home. After a short, awkward apology and another suggestion that we try counseling, I look her straight in the eye and say, "No." I tell her to leave. Remind her that she agreed to stay away. I tell her this mess is what she created. She leaves. I go back to the basement. I'm here now, typing this out, trying to stay calm. Trying to keep my blood pressure down. I just heard the garage door again. Thankfully she's gone. I'm a mess, honestly. I want to keep packing, but my bourbon collection is staring at me from the shelf. I already had one shot earlier. I know if I have another, this day is done for. But I have to keep going. Sunday rolled in after another night without sleep. Just packing, thinking, hurting. Everything I touched had a memory. Every picture, every item we picked out together, our wedding album, it all just dug up more pain. Still, I kept going. Tried to focus on what mattered. But there was one thing I didn't know how to handle. A sealed urn. Inside were the ashes of our children, the ones we lost. We'd always planned to have our ashes combined with theirs when the time came and have someone scatter them in the ocean near our favorite beach. Well, that plan's off now. But here's the thing, I want to keep the urn with me. I don't even know if that's wrong. I haven't mentioned it to her yet. My trust in her is zero right now. But eventually, I'll have to bring it up. I don't even know how that conversation would go. Should we open it and split the remains? That feels wrong. Like either of us gets to hold on to them. Maybe I'll ask my attorney, once I retain one. Anyway, Sunday night came around, and I was nearly done packing what I needed to take for now. I'd packed enough to get by for at least a few weeks, just in case I couldn't stomach coming back anytime soon. Grabbed the essentials, important documents, keepsakes, things I didn't want to risk leaving behind. Laura and I had agreed she'd return after 9 p.m., and I didn't want to be around when she got there. Honestly, I had to fight the urge to dismantle all the electronics, reset the router, unplug everything, wipe the house clean out of spite. But I didn't. I told myself I was taking the high road, being the bigger person for once. Some supportive calls from a buddy and a couple DMs from online friends helped keep me grounded. Anyway, it was about 7 o'clock when I started loading the last of my stuff into the car. And, of course, no surprise, but yep, she showed up early. She walked in looking a little rattled, though nowhere near as wrecked as I felt. She said it looked like I was leaving again and asked if, since I was heading out early, we could at least talk for a bit. I was already tense. Seeing her there just reminded me of everything I was trying to get away from. I wanted to be stronger than I felt, so I kept it short. I told her I didn't want to be too late getting back since I had to help care for my dad. Said I only had a few minutes, but if she had something important to say, I'd listen, or call her while I was on the road. She nodded, said she understood, but that she really needed me to hear what was going on with her over the weekend. She wished we could just talk without me being angry. She claimed she spent the weekend alone. I didn't believe her. Still don't, really. But she said she knew I couldn't forgive her, and that what she did was unforgivable. Still, she told me she loved me, always had, and always would. That she was still in love with me, even now. That she knew I probably didn't believe her, but she meant it. She was furious with herself for breaking me, for destroying the only man, in her words, who ever loved her unconditionally and was always there for her. I tried to stay stoic. Just give her a blank look. But I failed. My eyes welled up, and even though I fought the tears, they came anyway. I didn't say much. I just let her talk, hoping I could still leave afterward and not completely fall apart. She kept going, explaining why she thought she let the affair go on so long. Why she didn't stop. How, even when she suspected I might know, she convinced herself I didn't, or wouldn't care. She said she used to believe I was the one cheating. That I hadn't wanted her in years. That we'd become nothing more than roommates. But despite that, she insisted, I was the only man she ever wanted to grow old with. She said there were times she wanted to come clean, to confess it all. But she knew, deep down, I'd never be able to forgive her. That once she told me, it would be over. Again and again, she said it was her fault. Not mine. She told me she planned to seek therapy to understand why she allowed it to happen for so long. She admitted that our life had fallen apart not because we lacked anything, but because she convinced herself we could live without intimacy, that it was something we could just let fade. She told me if I wanted to see other people, she'd understand. Honestly, it all sounded like textbook behavior from someone trying to clean up after cheating. She brought up a conversation we had 2 Christmases ago, the one where I told her I had this fear of being physically close after our IVF losses, because I was terrified of getting her pregnant again and losing another baby. She said that was just an excuse. That I never really wanted her. Never really wanted a family. Especially when I shut down the idea of adoption. She told me she was angry, every single day, because the only thing she felt was missing in our life was connection and a family. And she believed I was the one who kept that from happening. She said she thought I blamed her for our losses and that every time I told her otherwise I was lying. She thought I was disgusted by her. That I resented her, even after all these years. She said she loved me enough for both of us. When I started spending more time with my dad, helping him as his health declined, she assumed it was just another excuse to be away from her. And all of a sudden, all these fears and doubts clicked into place for her. She said all she wanted was to be loved, and she felt like I hadn't loved her for a long time. That guy she met at the gym? She swore he wasn't even a possibility, until all those feelings and fears came to the surface. She claimed she never planned to cheat. That the first time was out of spite. Then it became about closeness, about physical and emotional connection. She said she never talked about me to him. That it was always just about what was happening between them. But I doubt that now. Eventually, she admitted she started to feel something for him. Said she told him she hadn't felt that way in years. But then she rushed to say it wasn't like what she and I had. That it wasn't love. That it's over now. And that she hopes. She asked me to forgive her. She wanted us to talk again, to figure out if there was any way forward. Even if it meant eventually splitting, she wanted time before jumping into divorce. She argued that I had been dishonest too for years, and because of that, she deserved a chance to make things right. And I just snapped. A chance? I said. You think you deserve a chance after cheating on me for an entire year? I reminded her how I had opened up to her, shared my deepest fears. How I'd worked through those fears in therapy and never brought them up again, specifically so something like this wouldn't happen. I told her how, over the last couple years, I'd really tried. I'd reached out. I'd made an effort to be more engaged, more romantic, more connected. And how did she respond? Minimally. Indifferently. Opening up that part of myself, telling her the truth about my trauma and what I carry from our losses, that was supposed to bring us closer. But she used it against me. She took the most vulnerable piece of me and used it as justification to cheat. To shatter my world. I admitted something I hadn't said out loud before, that I've felt so destroyed lately that there hasn't been a day where I didn't think about ending it all. And she said, she's had those same thoughts. But, she added, she could never actually go through with it because she didn't want to hurt me. I lost it. But you could do this to me for a whole year? I shouted. Then I calmed myself down. Barely. And I told her the truth, plain and simple. I can't ever open myself up to her again. I can't be vulnerable around someone who used my pain against me. She's changed me. Forever. And not in a way I'll thank her for. And honestly, even though she kept saying this was the only time, even after thinking through everything again last week, I still don't know if I believe that. I still think this might not have been the first time. I was already running about 45 minutes behind the time I planned to hit the road. My head was spinning. I knew I had to make up the time on the highway, but my thoughts weren't right. I told her I'd think about what she said, and maybe, I'd call her while driving. But I didn't. Instead, I just cranked up the music and cried. I mean ugly, chest-aching, soul-crushing crying. Worse than after D-Day. Because now it wasn't just the betrayal, it was realizing that maybe I had caused it. That maybe, somehow, my fears and distance opened the door for this. The thought gutted me. In the harsh light of the next morning, everything felt hollow. I started questioning everything, not just what I did, but whether she's been reading my online posts and somehow using them against me. It's unlikely. She's never been one for social media. Never had Reddit installed, and I would have seen it in her app history. I set up her devices. I updated her watch last Christmas. But still, doubt lingers. And honestly, I feel like a damn fool for ever letting my guard down. There are just some things you should never share, not even with someone you love. If I had just stayed quiet, maybe none of this would have happened. I guess this is karma in a way. Last fall, I came pretty close to walking away myself. I didn't. But maybe the universe decided to finish the job. Now I'm just existing on autopilot. I've gone back to that fake version of myself, the cheerful guy who never lets anything get to him. Never vulnerable. Always smiling. But it's just a mask. Deep down, I feel like I destroyed everything I ever had. I'm still talking to my attorney. Trying to stay the course. But the truth is, I don't see how I could ever go back to her after this. What she did, what she took from me, wasn't just our marriage. It was my ability to trust, to feel safe, to hope for something better. The other day, I officially informed Laura, via her work email, that I'd retained legal representation. I asked her to let me know who I should have my lawyer contact. I also advised her to seek her own counsel. She replied, saying she understood and apologized again. Said she couldn't imagine how I must be feeling. Said she didn't even deserve a conversation with me before I made any decisions, but hoped that time might calm things down. She asked if we could talk about counseling, or anything personal, outside of work email. I told her I was swamped, between work and helping my dad with his move, but that I'd use her personal email if I needed to follow up. She thanked me for at least reading her message. Asked me to consider what she said. Said she was worried about me. Asked how P was doing. Sent love to P and apologized one more time. Asked me to call her soon. And that's when it hit me like a brick. My dad, P, is losing everything too. He's being moved into a care facility. His home of over 50 years is gone. Every memory he ever built in that place is being packed up and sorted out. And because of his dementia, he forgets, then remembers, then forgets again. Every day we go through the same pain, the same heartbreak, over and over. It's like he relives the loss every morning. I've tried to be gentle with him. We've been sorting through his things, asking what he wants to keep. But how do you explain to someone, again and again, that their life is being boxed up? And one last thing that's been eating at me, her saying I shouldn't send stuff to her work email. At first, it made sense. Personal matters shouldn't be handled through her job. But now I'm pretty sure she's been using her work phone this whole time. Her personal phone's always been clean, pristine. And I'm the one who updated it, remember? Set it up for her last Christmas. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I didn't want to see it. Anyway, here we go again. I've found a better temporary place to stay. A friend of mine who lives close to work offered me a room, and I've moved in for now. I'd been thinking about renting an apartment right away, but this arrangement works well in the short term. It gives me space to breathe. Now, on to everything else that's happened. I officially served Laura with divorce papers. Unsurprisingly, she responded through her attorney, pretty combative right out of the gate. A few days later, I had to deal with a maintenance issue back at the old house. Thankfully, it wasn't catastrophic, But it was urgent enough that I had to handle it quickly. I figured I'd go in, meet the contractor, get the job done, and be out before Laura came home. It took several hours, but I managed to fix the issue and move a few things around. Of course, my luck being what it is, it couldn't go that smoothly. Later that day, I got a call from a doctor. Laura had been admitted to the hospital. I'm still listed as her emergency contact, and technically, we're still married, so I guess it wasn't all that surprising. She'd called an ambulance, thinking she was having a heart attack. Turned out it was a panic attack. But during intake, she told them she'd been having persistent thoughts of self-harm, so they kept her for observation. She's been in there ever since. I had to notify her boss and arrange medical leave through her office. After speaking with her doctor, I decided to go see her. He told me I could visit, but warned that I needed to keep things calm, no heavy confrontations. Said she was in a fragile emotional state. And I'll be honest, I was skeptical. It felt like the usual cheater in crisis script. But despite everything, I still care about her. I don't want her to hurt herself, and I don't want her to spiral. And yeah, part of it is selfish. I don't want her mental or physical health crumbling to the point that she can't manage the financial stuff we still share. We're still tied together in that way, whether I like it or not. I talked it over with my friend, asked for advice. They said it was my call, but whatever I chose, I needed to protect my peace. I also ran it by my attorney. After those first few visits, they advised me to tread carefully. Don't make promises. Don't say anything that could be twisted later in court. I know the warning signs. I've read the stories. Manipulative people sometimes use threats of self-harm to control a narrative. But I also know Laura. She's had real, documented struggles with her mental health before. And a chronic illness, too. Back then, I was all in. I was present, committed, did everything I could to support her through it. So yeah, part of me still feels responsible. Still feels like I need to show up. It's frustrating to feel empathy for someone who's caused me this much pain. But here I am. Because as much as I wish none of this ever happened, it did. And I'm the kind of person who doesn't just abandon someone in crisis. I never have been. She doesn't have much of a support system. Her only real friend lives states away and is dealing with a serious health issue of her own. So I told the doctor I'd come by. And I did, went to the hospital the next day. She was asleep when I arrived. Hooked up to IN4, with a few monitors running. None of them seemed directly tied to mental health, maybe just fluids or vitals, but I didn't ask. I figured it might be dehydration or something routine. Still, as I stood there, all I could think about was how many times I'd watched her sleep over the years. How peaceful she used to look. How beautiful she still looked, even now. She was the person I once wanted forever with. She started to stir. And just like that, all the anger, all the betrayal, it rushed back into me. But I held it in. When she opened her eyes and saw me, she looked surprised. Then she begged me for a hug. For forgiveness. I told her I was only there to make sure she was okay. That I was worried about her, but I wasn't there to talk about us. We stayed civil. She cried. A lot. And we talked. For a long time. Then she dropped another bomb on me. During a routine visit to her gynecologist for STD screening, they found something. It was still being assessed. And in my head I thought, great. Here comes the part where she tells me she caught something from the affair. But no. That wasn't it. They'd found a form of ovarian cancer. Fairly aggressive, according to the doctors. Now, I'm no expert, but I know enough to understand what that usually means. And it hit me like a brick. I had to excuse myself from the room to collect myself. I didn't want her to see how shaken I was. I stepped into the hallway and just stood there, trying to breathe through a swirl of grief, anger, confusion, and helplessness. Eventually, I went back in. We talked some more. Quietly. Carefully. And yeah, I agreed to help her however I can. I wanted to tell her to lean on her boyfriend now. That he should be the one dealing with this. But I didn't. Instead, I made it crystal clear, I'm helping because I care that she's a human being. Not because we're getting back together. This isn't about reconciliation. This is about doing the right thing, even when it hurts. I guess I believe that if the roles were reversed, Laura would have done the same for me. But who really knows, right? Her panic attack, it turns out, was triggered by everything crashing down at once. The cancer diagnosis, her birthday, which I completely forgot, and being served with divorce papers, all in the same week. A perfect storm. She told me she felt like ending her life would have been easier than dealing with all of it, fighting me, facing this disease alone, watching her life fall apart. And now, maybe dying too. She said she didn't want me to be left holding the bag if her medical debt spiraled out of control. That if it came to it, she'd rather I take the house outright, no strings attached. Said it could be a kind of nest egg for me to start over. But I told her none of that mattered to me. What I want, what I need, is for her to fight. To stay alive. To give it everything she has. I made it clear that I am not, and never will be, a reason for her to give up on herself. So yeah, this is my life now. Back and forth across the state, commuting for work, visiting my dad, checking in on Laura at the hospital, crashing at my friend's place, and now stopping back by the old house to grab more of her things. She's out of the psych ward now. They've moved her to a regular room. Her doctors think she's no longer a danger to herself, which is something, at least. More tests have been done, and today we're expecting detailed results on the stage of her cancer. The early findings suggest stage 2B or possibly higher. If we're lucky and it's not stage 4, then we might have a chance, albeit a rough road ahead. If it is stage 4, well, we're looking at something shorter, and even harder. I'm writing this from the hospital cafeteria, waiting for the oncology team to bring us more information. The thing is, I'm someone who gives everything when I care about someone. If she hadn't already hurt me so deeply, I'd probably be a complete wreck right now. Not that I haven't broken down in private. But once again, I'm playing the strong one for both of us. I'm trying to stay optimistic, which isn't really in my nature. The best-case scenario, according to the doctors, will involve emergency surgery, intense chemotherapy, and a long recovery period. I've already told her I'll be there through all of it. I haven't promised to move back in full-time, though that might become necessary. But I've been upfront. This doesn't change anything about the divorce. I've talked it over with my attorney. They said we can still legally be considered separated, as long as we're not sharing a bed and meet other basic conditions. It's called in-house separation, and it's legally valid in our situation. My main concern now is making sure I don't become responsible for any of her medical debt. The lawyers are working on amending the settlement agreement to reflect that, but she'll need to agree to it. That's the only way this works. So the question I keep asking myself is, can I take care of her, stay emotionally detached, and still move forward with my own life? The update for those still reading: I finally spoke with the doctors. It's stage 2B ovarian cancer. It's spread, but the tumors are still relatively small. The cancer hasn't reached her bladder or any distant organs like the liver, which, from what I've heard, would have made it practically incurable. She's going to need surgery and chemo, serious, aggressive treatment. But there's hope. I'd already made up my mind, no matter what she did, I wasn't going to let her face this alone. Some people might say she's not my responsibility anymore, and maybe they're right. But I can't just walk away, no matter how badly she betrayed me. I'm not doing this for her. I'm doing this for me. We're moving forward with the divorce. That hasn't changed. But yeah, I'll likely move back in for a while, under legal separation. I've discussed it with my attorney, and we're aligned. As long as we remain separate in terms of living arrangements and sleeping space, we're covered. What I won't allow is for her to make this process any more difficult than it already is. I'll make sure she understands. I'll support her through this, but she doesn't get to drag out the legal side. That's the line. I hate that it feels like I'm bargaining with someone's life. But even I have limits. Her surgery is scheduled for the next few days. They'll also perform additional biopsies. The treatment plan is brutal, but it's the best shot at stopping the spread. And here's the wildest part of all of this. If she hadn't cheated, she might not have gone in for that screening. So yeah, her cheating might have saved her life. I guess if anyone in this situation can claim a win, it's her. But honestly, it doesn't feel like anyone's winning right now. Update: I've been at the hospital with Laura since yesterday morning, and it's been just as awful as everything else that's been going on. First off, she's in critical condition. During surgery, they had to stop partway through because her blood pressure became dangerously unstable. The surgeon removed a lot of the cancer, but not all of it. At this point, another surgery is considered too risky. Then, last night, she had a seizure. It caused more internal bleeding and some additional damage. Even though they initially said no more operations, they had no choice but to take her in again for emergency surgery to stop the bleeding. She came out of that one early this morning, but she's been slipping in and out of consciousness. The medical team is doing everything they can to prevent a stroke. As I sit here, I honestly don't know if she's going to make it. I haven't slept in 2 days. I keep thinking the worst. She's a little more stable now, but just barely. It's all still very fragile. While I was waiting during her first surgery, I did something I know I probably shouldn't have. I looked through her work phone. There was a message from her affair partner, sent a few weeks ago from a number I didn't recognize. Turns out she had blocked his main number, but not this one. They had one last conversation. He was apologizing for how he treated her the last time they met. There's a long story behind that. I won't go into all of it now, but it involved me tracking him down and almost doing something incredibly stupid. He reached out afterward, and she agreed to meet with him, basically to keep me from doing anything legally regrettable. That was about a month ago. In her response, she told him he was the biggest mistake of her life. That she hated herself for ever meeting him. She swore she'd never talk to him or see him again, for everyone's safety. She asked him to never contact her again. And while that sounds like closure, she never told me about it. So yeah, more secrets. Even now. I went through her other messages, her emails, even looked at stuff from before last year. I didn't find anything suspicious. Nothing that changed the reality I've already accepted. But that message, it just reinforced what I already knew. She's still capable of lying to me. And at this point, I don't even know if we'll ever talk about it. It may not even matter anymore. Whether she survives or not, whether she makes it through this or ends up with lasting brain damage, it doesn't change the fact that I'm still here. Still doing what I can for her. Still hoping for the best. But expecting the worst. Honestly, the best I can hope for at this point is a few hours of real sleep before the weekend. Here's the latest. Laura's condition has been all over the place, mostly trending downward, but there's been a flicker of hope. The doctors now believe she might have suffered a small stroke. But she's holding on. She's even shown a bit of improvement over the weekend. She's not out of danger, but they're a little more optimistic now. She's been conscious more often, though she's in constant pain and on strong medications. They've moved her out of intensive care, and the plan is to transfer her to rehab before sending her home, possibly as soon as Thursday. Also, her best friend, Megan, reached out to me. We hadn't talked since all of this started. I assumed she knew and was just quietly supporting Laura from a distance. Turns out she hadn't been in the loop. I'd left her a voicemail the night after Laura's first surgery, just in case. Told her how serious things had gotten. That's where things stand right now. I don't know what's going to happen next. I just know I'm still here. Still standing. Still carrying the weight. I told Megan that if she wanted to see Laura, she should do it soon, just in case the worst happened. Megan and I were never particularly close, but she and Laura had been best friends since high school. They went to college together, spent holidays and vacations with us over the years. I could tell losing Laura was weighing heavily on her. She called me Thursday to offer her sympathy and ask if she could visit. She also asked if she could stay at the house, maybe assuming I still lived there full time. I said yes, even though being in that house, even part-time, still cuts deep. But Megan's a genuinely good person. I knew what this meant to her. I picked her up from the airport that evening, and we drove straight to the hospital. During the drive, we talked about Laura's condition and everything that had unfolded since the surgery. That's when Megan finally opened up. She told me she knew about the affair, and everything else. Laura had only told her a few days before she was first hospitalized. It all came out at once: the cancer diagnosis, being served with divorce papers, the affair. Megan said they hadn't been talking much over the past year, not like they used to. She assumed it was because Laura couldn't handle hearing about Megan's own medical struggles. She thought maybe Laura was distancing herself to avoid dealing with the idea of losing her best friend. And then came the kicker. Megan told me that she had confided in Laura months ago, sharing her suspicion that her husband might be emotionally cheating on her. She thought he had a crush on someone at work. She didn't believe it had gone further, but she felt vulnerable and hurt. She went to Laura for advice. And Laura, my wife, stood there, knowing full well she was cheating on me, and gave Megan advice about setting boundaries, going to counseling, and demanding respect. Megan said that when she finally learned the truth, she told Laura she didn't know if they could even be friends anymore. She was furious, so angry she actually cursed Laura out, which Megan never does. She's deeply religious, super reserved. But this broke something in her. Laura tried calling her a few times afterward, but Megan didn't pick up. She thought I might be trying to loop her into everything. But when she got my voicemail after Laura's surgery, she knew she couldn't live with the idea that her last conversation with her best friend had ended like that. So, she called me back and made plans to come. We spent a lot of time together over the weekend. Nothing inappropriate, we just talked. A lot. Late into the night most evenings. And it felt normal. Safe, even. Megan never pressured me to stay with Laura. But each night, after visiting the hospital, she seemed to soften a bit. On her last night in town, she dropped something on me I wasn't expecting. Laura had asked Megan to talk to me about end-of-life decisions. She told Megan she didn't know if I'd be able to take her off life support if things got that bad. That if she ended up unable to recover, she didn't want to be kept alive just to suffer. She asked Megan to convince me to let her go, if that moment came and I couldn't make the call. Laura said she didn't want to live with severe disabilities. She just wanted peace. And now I'm sitting here wondering what the hell I'm supposed to do with that. I don't even know the legal side of things beyond brain death scenarios. I plan to talk to her about it tonight, but I honestly don't know what I'll say. Personally, I don't believe in prolonging suffering. If someone's in constant pain, no chance of recovery, I understand the wish to let go. And I might be capable of making the right decision, medically speaking. But I can't promise anything. Not now. I'm scared I'd be influenced by my own exhaustion. My own deep-down desire to be done with this entire nightmare. Even if the situation was clear-cut, I think I'd carry guilt for the rest of my life. I'll bring this up with my therapist, though my next session isn't until later in the week. Before Megan left, I asked if she'd consider taking on medical power of attorney for Laura. She's thinking about it. I also plan to talk to one of my close relatives about it, though they live far away and may not be able to help. Whatever happens, I'm committed to only making legal decisions. No gray areas. I've spoken briefly with my lawyer, and we've scheduled a meeting for tomorrow. But tonight I'll sit down with Laura and tell her the truth. I understand what she wants, but I can't agree to it. Not yet.